Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Aquarius Rising Africa. I have no idea where Lira is. Her camera is black. So,
What?
Morné, I'm not sure. Are you there? I can't see you.
I'm here.
I can't see you on
How
your
about
camera. I
now?
don't know. Can you guys just tell me if it's me that can't see Lira or Morné, is Lira off? Yes. Okay,
I'm on.
Lira's okay, your camera is not working, I don't think.
How about
But
now?
anyway, we can carry on chatting. I can't see. I'm just waiting for Morné to send a message here. Sorry.
Hmm.
Okay, we can't see you, but we can hear you. But if that's okay for the moment, that's fine. Maybe you. Oops, there she goes. Well, hello everybody. As you can tell, we're having fun and games on this program lately because, with all the shenanigans going on, and we were just talking about the channels and the shadow banning and all of this stuff and what's happening and being knocked. And yeah, she's back. I see. Let's let her on in the back room again.
Okay.
Oh my
Come
goodness.
on. Okay. Hi,
Hello,
guys.
Lira.
Happy
So
Friday.
good to see you. How are you? Happy Friday to you too. Lovely to see you. Are you well?
Yes. Yes, I am. Yeah.
Ah,
After the show, I
that
was
was,
attacked. After the show, I was attacked spiritually. Like beings were coming down behind me. God said, like, fast, you're going to be attacked. So I started fasting. Two people came up to me and say, I prayed for you. I'm like, thank you, just at the right time. We also had that helicopter on the other side of the house. They normally do not go by that side, and they flew by. This is the second time in what, 8, 9 years. Like, that was apparently they did not like what I was saying about Mount Weather, FEMA. That's here. But like at that time, I was fasting. I knew what was happening. Those frequencies. I'm like, you're not gonna go forth with this. Like, I'm gonna use God's blood. Like, we're gonna deal with this. But yeah,
yeah.
just the little things.
Wow. So are you okay though? You and your family and all. I mean, I know
Yep.
there's a lot of arresting going on right now. And I really think that the dodgy ones are yes, you are dodgy, you got to admit, guys, the dodgy ones, you are the dodgy ones that are trying to sneak and terrorize everybody. The time is coming to an end soon. We know that, but they're going to try
Yeah,
anyway, right? They're going to
exactly.
try what they can and be as scary and terrifying, as what they could possibly be, until they
Hmm.
realize, yeah, one big joke, actually. Anyway, we can't say that now, but they'll realize they one big joke. Anyway, so what I really want to talk to you about, or what we were going to talk about, was one of the visions you were talking about the Baltic Sea.
Oh, you
Mm.
want to jump into that? Yes.
Well, is
And
there
we talked.
anything you wanted to go into first, or is there anything that yeah. So I tell you what, you decide where we go first. But that was definitely something that grabbed my attention.
Yeah, yeah, we should talk about that one. Was quite interesting. One of my avatars. You guys will like it. But first, I wanted to say thank you all so much for your support, for your love. Your show has helped me personally a lot, and I know a couple other people. Just be able to finally speak out what I have experienced. I never knew how healing it would be, but it has been. Thank you so much. I appreciate your comments. And one of the comments I have to reply to, which is the shirt that I was wearing, the leopard shirt, right? I wore it again last time because I wanted to speak about it, but forgot. You know, we associate it with MK Ultra, right? But it's a bit higher, deeper than that. It goes back to the Egyptians. One of the Egyptians, one of the parts was like a lion, one of the gods, and so on. And I was attached to the Eye of Egypt. And that was another interesting story because originally I wanted to talk, or we tagged this show as overcoming perpetrators, right? So I'll touch on that. But going back to the Eye of the Egypt, that was like the pecking order. And then underneath, we had all of these other gods that I had to deal with, detach, divorce myself from it. So when a couple of the guys, Joshua and Skylar, they actually go to Africa, they travel around the world, and they help people detach, divorce themselves from various demonic beings. And when Joshua came up to me and he said, "You have the eye of Egypt, like, let's get it out of you." And then he walked away because he knew it was coming out of me. And all of a sudden, I went down, I turned pale as a ghost. I wanted to throw up. They brought me a trash can because everything inside me just turned and flipped. And I'm seeing this huge, huge snake in front of me. And it's not leaving. It just looked me straight in the eyes. It's like, And I'm telling everybody, just please keep praying. I can't stand looking at this monstrosity in front of me. And they kept praying, and it kept following and following me. And all of a sudden I see Jesus' rod of iron coming down and just dissolved it. I'm like, thank you, Jesus. That was awesome. Okay, I'm free. And then Joshua said, okay, well, instead of that, you used to have that. Now we need to bring something good into it. We're going to give you God's wisdom. We're going to release that and replace that, Eye of Egypt with God's wisdom. I'm like, okay. But that wasn't the end. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That wasn't the end. In the morning, yeah, very important, crucial to do that. You can't just leave that empty space. They're going to come back, with more evil. So he did. I'm like, great, went home, all good. Get up in the morning, stand up, and this black blood just comes out of me. Not my time of the month, no nothing. Usually it's red with a black hue. Well, this time it was black with red hue. And I'm shocked that this just plopped out of me. I'm frozen. Like, there's the bathroom, hurry up. But I'm so overwhelmed what just came out of me. And I knew darn well it was from last night's deliverance session, right? But I still could not comprehend that it's also physical, that this stuff is just came out of me. It was crazy. So going back to the shirt, that shirt, the leopard, was connected to that. But now that I'm disconnected, I will actually put it on purpose, claiming back the Bible verse that says, God gave us the authority over the animals, they're for us to be used. In fact, God gave Adam and Eve clothing out of animals. Like, it's okay for me to wear animal print. I specifically wear shoes out of snake skin, because in the Bible it says we have the authority and the power to tread over scorpions and snakes. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm going to do that. So I wear snake shoes on purpose. Oh, and then also jewelry. Another part of me was, which I mentioned before, where I was used to help businessmen with their business affairs, right? To foretell what's going to happen. And so when they were praying over me to get rid of that deity, God, demon, I felt it clawing me on the inside. I was on the floor, couldn't stand. And it was clawing and clawing, and they were praying over me for this thing to come out, and it wasn't coming out. And then somebody got a word of knowledge saying, like, take off her jewelry. And I love cuff bracelets, just big old cuffs. And they couldn't get it off. Eventually they took it off, and that's when the thing came out. So what was happening was, in the spiritual realm, they cuffed me to that demon. That's why I like the cuff bracelets so much, because it was so natural, normal for me to be cuffed at all times, and as soon as they got it off, I was free. So I'm just telling you people, if you gravitate towards some things over and over and over again, see if there's something connected to it. Or the other way around, when you buy jewelry or when you buy certain clothing, say a little prayer, cleanse it. If they attach something to it, we know about the clothing. We know how much sorcery there is in the clothing, right? They use that. Just cleanse it, just like you pray for your food, water, but also sometimes cleanse the food and the jewelry. All right. Yeah. So get into overcoming the perpetrators. I had no idea how bad it would be, but one of my experiences was almost coming across one. So about my handler, my daughter's handler, JB Neal. His actual full name is William. And guess what the government did for him? they took off his fingerprints. So when he's messing with people, he wouldn't leave any, anything that you can go after him with. Yeah, one of the first times we were together, he was putting my heavy bag, attaching the heavy bag, installing it in my basement. And I told him, I had a dream about you, and you were sitting in a kind of like a dentist chair, and there were nurses around you. They were doing something with your hands, and your hands were wooden. You couldn't feel anything. And he just looks at me and he's like, who are you? Like, what in the world? Later on, we found out, he divulged it to my husband, that, yeah, they just burn off all my fingertips, the fingerprints, so he wouldn't leave it. It's just like the things that they will do to get their agenda out, missions, is just
absolutely, it's
evil.
Endless. It's endless. They will go, they really have, and they don't stop at anything. We know that. I mean, it's just, how much more depraved than torturing a baby? There's nothing more depraved than that, actually, or a harmless animal, really. There's nothing more depraved and inhumane than hurting children. So that really is the last resort to depravity, in my opinion. Yeah. And they've got that wax, that's for sure. So it's now just about turning that around.
Yeah. So this past summer, and mind you, we have not seen him, our handler, for about 6-7 years, since 2016-17. And we are traveling out of state, raining very hard one night, and we decided to stop at the hotel. So my husband goes in, getting checked in, I'm getting the stuff out of the car, and I look up, and through the windshield with rain on it, dark, like I said, I see him. And JB's a very distinctive, has distinctive features. He's Apache, Indian looking, but his father was Scottish, I think. So he definitely stands out. And then seeing somebody that looks just like him, I went down. I couldn't breathe. I think my heart stopped. I went into full panic attack. Had no idea that I would react to this. First of all, he was more my daughter's handler than mine. The horrific things that he did was more on my daughter than me. But all of those memories, the visions that I had, just came out. And I had no idea that I would just freeze and not be able to breathe. And then afterwards, like, couldn't sleep at night. It's not necessarily the perpetrators that we need to be afraid of. It's the demons behind them. When we go through the trauma, the reason why they're doing it is because they want to attach those powers, demonic powers, to us, right? But in our physical eyesight, we registered with the handler, like they're the bad guys. It's like, no, you got to go after the generals and the ones who are above them, the pecking order, and like push them aside, because I know JB and his wife, they were programmed, both of them. Like, they're not the same boat, but they too are in the system. It's the demons that you have to deal with. And that entire night at the hotel, it was the demon of fear, and then some of the other ones that were just bombarding me with great fear. And if I didn't know how to do warfare, I think I would have gone crazy. Spiritual warfare. So I kept praying, binding, releasing God's glory, love, and peace into the room, even anointed the room. And then Jesus says, like, open that Gideon Bible. Every hotel in US has a Gideon Bible. He's like, open the Bible to Psalms 91. And in there, it talks about how Jesus covers you. He covers you with his feathers. He covers you with his love. He will protect you from the pestilence. You just walk with him. He will protect you, period. And another verse in there, in that same Psalm 91, it talks about how you will step on the lions and the scorpion and the snakes. I'm like, yeah, man, I need to crush this. So I read it out loud, and I left it open, sang some more, and was able to fall asleep. But I had to do that warfare. Nothing that what I thought I saw my perpetrator. It was the demons that I had to fight afterwards. And that's important. It's one of the things that tools that we need to understand as we're going through this healing journey, who we're dealing with, and the pecking order of the demons. And fasting is another big thing, because Bible talks about there are some demons that won't leave you unless you fast. They're the stronger ones, channels the powers of the darkness. Yeah, so keep that in mind. There are times when you have to fast. There are times when you're living 1 hour at a time, because you feel the oppression and you're so depressed, you're so at odds with yourself, can't put the pieces together, you're just desperate. And during those times, I know one of the times I was so desperate, I looked at my dog and I said, like, can you pray for me? Because I don't know who to talk to. I've got nobody. And even if I try talking to somebody, they think I'm crazy. So I was just looking at my dog and just, please pray. It's just bad. Another time, or not another time, when you're low and down and can't deal with things in your head, start counting off your blessings. Like, even one of the times I said, like, Lord, thank you for the toothpaste. Like, I couldn't think of anything better. I was so down, like everything was just bad. Like, if you can thank God for the toothpaste, that's a blessing. Great. Write it down. Count it off on your fingers. Just do what you can to get through it. Of course, another thing that Bible speaks is look up, for your salvation is there. You know, you look up at the sky, you look at the sun, and you're naturally going to be filled with the energy, period. And that will propel you forward. Oh, and speaking of that,
it's true.
yeah, you know, the sun, you know, the light, how
Yeah.
important it is and powerful, right? So try that. At the very least, look up. And there's science behind it. I just learned from a Russian doctor. He practices this with his patients. So, and you see this in the movies too, when they like crack their head, right? So when you put your head back up and you look up, you're blocking the arteries here. And when you put your head forward, your brain fills up with fresh blood. And if you just like choke yourself right here, the others, if you crush basically the 4 arteries, and when you let go, your brain is immediately filled with good fresh blood, and you just get energy and clear thinking. Just try it. It's a weird feeling, but it does work. You get clarity after doing it a few times. And of course, as you mentioned this, I think this week with Jesse, singing, dancing, even just moving your hand around, but singing. And I do it in the driveway outside under the light. It's just so awesome. It's just a great weapon to sing, to dance, to move around, to keep your mindset on the positive words that are in the song. Because then you can't, you know, if they're tormenting you, the memories are tormenting you. Putting this new song into your head will push the other ones out, the bad thoughts. It's very, very powerful. One of the times I was so, again, down and depressed, I couldn't sing, I couldn't dance, and it was so natural for me to do it. But this time I just dropped my silk flags, which I love, dropped them down and just slumped, like, Lord, I can't do this. Everything is going bad. And he appears in front of me and he shows me huge armies of angels and then 2 generals in front of these armies. And he said, see, all these armies are given to you to fight on your behalf. Like, how can you possibly be depressed? You don't even need to do the fighting. You just need to put all your faith in me, and I'll have release all these angels to fight on your behalf. Whatever you want, right? The demonic, Luciferians, like, no, they're there for you to do the fighting for you. And it's like, okay, I have no right to be depressed here. I see this, Lord. Thank you for that. It's an awesome thing that he does for us when we tap into his goodness, right? With our heart, soul, and mind. Another thing was that I did was to divorce myself from the land. And it came back to me. So knowing where the abuse took place, it's also healing to divorce yourself from it. whatever spirits were treaties, right? Legal treaties were made on that piece of land. Just say, I'm not there anymore. Cut yourself off. And now, Lord, bless me over here in this new location. You know, whatever you have for me here, you know, work with me here. That is very, very helpful. You'll feel the freedom when you do it. It sounds weird, but you will feel it. And then later, when the war broke out, a lot of people were telling me, there, hey, you're from Ukraine, Moldova area. You've got the right authority to fight this. I'm like, no, I cut myself off from it. Like, I didn't want anything to do with it. I do pray for them. Indeed. Another thing is, of course, to burn the clothing. I got rid of a lot of clothing, a lot of jewelry. If it, you know, like even the cuffs, right? The cuff bracelets, they made a difference. The clothing that I had, snake skin clothing, pants, got rid of all of that. It's just, you don't need it anymore. You have a new life now. And I do encourage you at times to buy like the animal leopard print clothing, or I did buy new cuff bracelets here because it reminds me that I have overcome it. Now when I wear the cuff bracelets, like, no, I am not that. I have the authority to break the evil things that happen to me. It's a more of a reminder, encourager to me now, versus before it was something that was dragging me down.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are times when, like I said, sing, dance, but claiming Bible verses. Sometimes you get so angry and upset that you're throwing like almost curse verses, Bible verses at them. Like, no, there are Bible verses that says you're going to be crawling in your belly and you're going to be licking the dust. I'm like, that's you. And just for those few minutes or a couple of hours, you're basically like, you're going to get what's coming to you for all the evil that you've done. And other times when you're in a better place in your head, I remember I would do this in the car. First, when nobody's around me, nobody can hear me. First, I would scream out of anger, and then I would bless them. Like, Lord, I forgive them and I bless them. You know, that's also healing for you. And the Spirit well knows that you have forgiven them and you're blessing them, like you have moved on. But that goes back and forth, and it takes practice. But it is also helpful to deal with the perpetrators. Sometimes you do get angry. Like, they did all this without getting permission. Like, who the hell do they think they are that they can do this to children, innocent children? You know, you get angry. Very angry, especially if you know that it's been done to your children also. So I used to take boxes and some of my knives, and I would just stab those boxes just out of anger, stab, just to get the emotion out of me. Because we are emotional creatures. That's how God created us, emotional beings. And today's society, you know, they will plug us up with different medications. Like, no, we need to have the right time to heal, to go through those crazy emotions, or to cry it all out, to hack it all out. Please do that. Please. Even if you have to turn the water on in the shower and cry with that water so nobody can hear you, or help you cry because you hear the running water, it's helpful. Do that. You're not going to move on unless you have taken the time to grieve or get that anger out, whatever it takes. Please do that. Absolutely. There's no way around it. Yeah,
I agree. I agree.
Another one was, let me see. This is a harder one, not a harder one, but it's a need. It's just another strategy, what you can do. And it's, hold on a second. Giving your parts up to Jesus, or my avatars up to Jesus. And I work with two people. One of them was trained to be a high priestess. Another one was for something else. They're older. They've been carrying all this horrific events. And I got to tell you, with the, like, for me, the way they used me, they were creating avatars for me, and I'm just like a faucet in the back where they're just turning using me back and forth, right? But with other people, survivors, they're actually there physically for every torment, and sometimes they're not drugged for everything. So like being buried, raped with a snake, then buried in a coffin, nailed coffin with a bunch of snakes, and you're lowered to the ground. You know, like how do you deal with that mentally? And that's, they get a double whammy, because first they know, they do see that perpetrator quite often. Sometimes they don't, they leave them, but they know the people who have done it to them. Second, they know they were physically present for all the torture. And third, you have all these demons that they've attached to you. They're continuously bombarding you, messing with you, right? And to deal with it, as I mentioned before, your mind can only carry one thought at a time. So naturally, for every event that you went through, brutality, your mind is going to create a part, let's say Susie, right? So in order for the person to go on in life, they're going to bury that part with that Susie part. But it's like a rose petal that I was talking about. There it goes. It falls off. And that's how you can go on. Like, it's not part of me anymore. But after a while, you're getting sometimes hundreds of them, depending on how much they have used you, right? And you are living with all this heaviness on you. So the way I would help myself and them is I have to tell those parts, give those parts a safe place for them to come out. I will tell them that Jesus has his beautiful wings around you. You can feel the safety there, the fragrance. Here, have some of this living bread of life. Have some of the living water. Let's just breathe life into you from Jesus. And then I will ask them what part wants to come out and give Jesus this burden that they've been carrying. And let me tell you, they do go, like the person will go back, and then the other parts will start from coming forwards, because they just want to give it up all to Jesus, all those burdens, the heaviness. And it's one part, one name after the next, after the next, after the next, that starts coming out. And in the spiritual realm, I'm seeing Jesus like turning this one into a pearl, and this one into the feather. Some of the parts, and the lady last week that I was working with, she heard some of the parts were, after we've gone through about 70 of the other parts that came forward. Now we were dealing with the deep ones, and what Jesus did, he released a rope way down deep into the depths of her. And at first, the parts were not wanting to come out. They've been there for so long. And then they start crawling up the rope, like to the surface, like, oh, I can come out now. I can, say what happened to me. And then what Jesus did, he put them on tops of the tree branches, where they can see the glorious heaven. They can feel God's breeze and glory, the happiness, the joy, the music there, like the total freedom. Instead of being there deep down in her, now they were free. And she was free. But you go to sleep at night and you're thinking, okay, I've been just being freed from about 100 parts of these that I've been carrying with myself. Like, how do I deal with this freedom? That's another thing that you have to take note of. You do have to work through that. You constantly, now at that point, you have to remember that they stole this from me. Now we have to replace it with the joy. And you have to take the time to dance, sing, read God's word, whatever makes you happy, to start replacing those empty spots constantly. And that is work.
It's so true what you're saying about that, because remember, energy can never be created or destroyed, only ever transferred or transformed. Mm-hmm. So that is the golden rule of energy. So when we understand that everything is energy, your pain is energy, your resentment, your anger, your frustration, whatever it might be, is energy. So if whatever events occurred in your life, doesn't matter where they come from, and this could also be relevant to people that haven't been SRA'd or had MK Ultra'd or stuff like this. This could be relevant to someone who's maybe had a traumatic family experience, had something happen in their childhood, but it creates a trauma in the mind. So that trauma then opens that person up to obviously experience painful experiences in life, very often is the case, right? So it's not so much the pain, but it's what the pain creates you to do or feel, right? We all have pain, and we all experience pain in our own unique way. Someone else's pain might cause them to murder someone, right? Someone else's pain might cause them to want to become a healer. So it's really how I believe, this is how we transcend these horrific experiences that these Luciferians know exactly how to entrench into our minds. You ask any of my students that I've worked with for many years, one of my main phrase or my main quotes is repetition is magic. Okay, so now what they know this, they repeat a trauma, so it's so strongly entrenched into your mind, your brain, your energy, your being, that it's very difficult for human beings to transmute that, right? So when we understand that all we really do is flip that over, when we come out of the place, and I'm not trying to say it's as easy as what it sounds, but it starts with flipping it over, right? Decision, because the first thing that we have to do is we've got to decide. We got to decide we choose healing. That is such an important, because that flips your energy immediately. From sitting on the fence, think about sitting on a fence, 1 foot here, 1 foot there. What am I going to do? Who am I going to? I don't trust anyone. No one's out there. Oh my gosh, look at that. We sit like this for so often. Decide, pray, ask God for guidance on who the right person for you is. And I promise you, God will send that person to you. You will know that. You will know that person when you meet them. And in that moment, then, take that journey of deciding. Be joyful in your decision to decide to heal. That's the first thing. You got to believe there's hope. You have to know that despite the darkest times that are in your life, there is hope. There is hope. And doesn't matter if you can feel or see the hope right now, you have to remember it. And you've got to do things that make you remember. So when you remember it, you've then got to fill that memory with a sweetness of what hope is. Hope is a cap, right? Or hope is an umbrella. What is what goes? Or let's say hope is a orange that is just the peel and the outline, or the segments, but without the juice. That's hope. That orange is called hope. But now, how does hope feel? How does hope taste? How does hope make me want to do things? So I need to do things. In other words, play with an animal if you need to. Phone your friend and have a giggling fit. Watch something funny. I love watching funny cat cartoons. I'm telling you, within 2 seconds, I'm in a different space. So you do things. Decide if your body needs shaping up. Decide to start walking. You don't and please, I can't handle joining a gym. Don't join a gym. No. No. Okay, do. It's just for me the worst thing. I like to do yoga. I do it in my own space, in my own time. I love the feeling of my body being strong and healthy and breathing and stretching and flexing and feeling delightful after that, with God's good grace flowing through me, and I'm ready to take on the day. So what I'm saying is we have to put things into place, bite-sized chunks. If your house is chaos, start by tidying one drawer today. Start with the things that you can manage. Write down a list of 5 things that you have to do today, and tiny things. If it means tidying one drawer, tick it off and celebrate that, and then we work our way up. It's so important to get ourselves into a routine of positivity. So whatever that is for you, you know that any denomination is welcome on this platform. So if you're a Christian then read your Bible, say your prayers, do whatever it is you need to do. You know, if you prefer Eastern teachings, then do your yoga, do your meditation. You know, if you're an atheist and you just like being out in nature, then go out in nature and just enjoy the sunlight. You know, whatever it is you feel like doing that's going to make you feel better, then do it. Because that is getting the sweetness, the juiciness within the orange. An orange is horrible to eat when it's all dry and nasty. The sweetness is the emotion, feeling that we get through that. So sorry, I didn't mean to take over what you're saying, Lira. I just wanted to, because that to me is a very, very important part of healing. I've been doing this like 20 years, and I always say it's that moment. It's darkest before the dawn. So many people are in so much pain right now. Please know there's hope. Just decide to believe there's hope. And if you are here, then there's a reason you are here. You are here by God's divine design. Doesn't matter what you think in your head. And then you have to believe. That's where you begin. Start writing. Take a book and a paper. Start writing down. Angry thought, whatever. Get it out. Get it out. And as you say, punch, do it, run around. I don't know, you know, whatever you want to do. Scratch on your wall, but okay, you know, do something that gets rid of that excess energy that will allow the God's light. It gives place for God's light and God's inspiration to start shining through for you. It's action. Act on it.
Exactly that, right? For me, you mentioned like do 5 things a day. I had to start with 3 things a day. And I did write things down. I had to write things down. I did jot down things that I remembered happened, right? That was very helpful. I didn't know that it would be, but it was helpful. And I did drop my workouts. I used to work out quite a lot. I couldn't do it. It was too much for me. Physically, every time I worked out, and it was, like I said, quite a bit hard. The physical, after doing the physical, as you know, it's doing something physically is very helpful for your emotion being. And it was just so much would start pouring out of me that it was just too much. My cortisol levels were always up high. So what I did, I turned from working out religiously to just walking. I did so much walking because that was grounding for me, just for those 2 years. Now I'm getting back to working out again because I've done the healing process. But at that point, like I said, my cortisol level was anxiety, the stress level, just trying to make sense that this is real, that it happened to me, or it's still happening to me, that they're still using me with these avatars was just too much to process. But walking, dancing, singing, something a bit lower was more, it was a good vehicle, healing vehicle for me. I remember going to the beach and telling myself to breathe. Sorry.
Okay, sorry, carry on. No, sorry, carry on what you were saying. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Going to the beach and then telling myself to just breathe with the waves, breathe in the sea air, like keep moving with the waves, emotionally, physically, just start snapping back into life.
Absolutely.
You do what you need to do.
Garden. It's so important to, you know, just get that garden touch, grow veggies, you know, play in the mud, swim in the sea, run on the beach. That's
my husband laughs at me. Yeah, I love my garden. I love my little white pebble stones. It's like, I don't need jewelry, honey. I just need the little pebbles, please. I love my feet in there. I love my box, my grandkids' sandbox. Like, I use it for my feet. I love it all. And it's all healing. Right, the physical touch helps you emotionally. It's just good.
Absolutely, absolutely. So also, I wanted to ask you, if you don't mind, you mentioned the avatars, and I'm just slightly a little bit off topic here, but not really. How do you know, for example, you that has had several avatars created that have done things, are there still any running around? Are there still any that are dormant? If so, how do you know? How do you know? Can you deactivate them? Are they still operational?
Yep. So I was going to go kind of that way, also that route. God gives you strategies to help you get through this, right? And last time I was triggered with talking about the being a sleeper soldier, right? It was bad as I started talking about it. This year was raining, and this
Yes.
year was just very static, and it was going deaf. That's when I started like, hold on a second, this is just something very wrong. The strategy that I used, I did know one of the people in the comments put down that Dan Duval has prayers against ear ringing, and I knew that, and I specifically did not pray them because I wanted to fish out to see what program, what avatar is setting off this ear ringing. So being on your show made it clear for me that it was the super soldiers that were setting it off, right? And like after the show,
Wow.
yeah,
Isn't that incredible? It's like, sorry, but this is just another moment where these guys are exposing themselves. Guys, look at this. That's exactly what Lira's saying. She was fishing to see which of the programs were active at what point. And the minute we started speaking about the sleeper soldiers, it started ringing. So she knew immediately that that programming was coming from her sleeper soldier programming, which means she can then go and work with it. And
yes.
wow.
So right after the show, I dropped on my knees. I'm like, Jesus, I know that they unplugged me. I know that I don't have those thoughts anymore of working with the Russian soldiers, helping them out. And he's like, yeah, you are unplugged. If you were not unplugged, you would be getting still to this day those thoughts. But since you were unplugged, the only thing that you're getting is this sound, the ringing. I'm like, okay, well, thank you for confirming that. That was good.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
So
Wow. Wow.
strategy, using strategy. And then another thing that I would do is you remember the time when Jesse was encouraging people to claim the land, anoint the land, right? Anoint yourself, claim the land. So I was anointing, God told me to anoint myself at nighttime because I would go in at nighttime, I would go to different places and the avatars, like you said, were used and I knew it, right? That's how I learned about many of my avatars. So I knew that I'd travel at nighttime to many different locations, countries. I'm like, Lord, I want to claim that land. I'm going to anoint myself, whatever land I touch in the spiritual realm, like let's cleanse it and let's claim it for God's people. So guess what I was dreaming for the next several weeks? Water. Nothing but water. The spiritual realm did not want me to touch the land. So they were making sure that my spirit was just hovering over the water. And then I remembered what Amanda Bai said. And she said, well, Jesus walked on water. And when he walked on water, he told the water, marine spiritual realm, all the spirits, marine spirits, right, as you know quite well, that he has the authority. And if we are his children, we too have the authority over the spiritual realms. So water realms, water demons. So then I changed my prayer, like, Lord, and whatever water I touch, not just the land, but if I touch any water, I'm going to claim that water for God's people, that body of water. So yeah, the next night, I'm dreaming about the land. I'm like, yeah. But anyhow, at nighttime. No, so
sorry,
the dream stopped. What?
Sorry, I didn't hear. What were you dreaming about?
Water. After anointing myself, I started dreaming about water and not land, because in my prayer I said, Lord, whatever land I touch spiritually, I want that. So they would not let me dream about land. That they only showed me water. I'm like, no, we're going to dream about, I want, even if I touch water, I'm going to cleanse it and I'm going to claim that body of water for God's people. And then my dreams changed, and then I started dreaming about land too. But speaking of anointing, sometimes the attacks were so bad that I would anoint myself and I would sleep with the Bible, and I would charge my atmosphere with God's names, pray, cover myself with blood, because I just needed a peaceful night, sleeping, not traveling to places. But sometimes I did not do that specifically because I wanted to fish out what other avatars are being used of me. Like I mentioned earlier, one of the, they had me release a giant, a demon over New York City. The way it happened, I appeared in New York City courtroom, and there was the judge and a couple other people, and they were all in the system, all Luciferians, and they're demanding of me to release this one giant. His name is Scarcity. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I know better. I'm not releasing this evil thing over New York City. Like, no. And then something happened. Whatever they did to me, frequencies, drugs, I don't know. It went black. I went blank. Everything went black. Next thing I know, I opened my eyes and I see through the window in that courthouse, New York City, and everything is leveled. And the giant is standing over one foot in one neighborhood, the other foot in the other neighborhood. He is eating everything that he can, including the people. Just, it's Scarcity that I released over New York City. Like, they used me like that. And I was so angry about it. So I bring it up to the Lord. I'm like, can we just tuck it away, put it back? Like, no. And in this particular case, he said, no. In Revelation, one of the seals, it says that the giants will be released upon the earth. And the evil ones are doing that just now through people who function in opening those gates, you know, spiritual gates. Yeah. They are using them. We don't know about it. We don't want to do it, but yet we have been used. Another one, well, several ones. You mentioning whether they're functioning or not. One of them, one of the avatars did get killed. Again, saw myself, it was me looking avatar. I was helping another survivor, and we were talking about some things in Russia. She's American, but somehow both of us, our avatars, worked together. But so whatever we were binding in the spirit, they did not like it, that they end up killing that part of me. And like I said, I was strapped in a lab, lots of equipment over me and lights, couldn't move at all. And then this one woman, military woman, short hair, walks in and she looks at me, she's like, you know what's coming. And what was coming was a bunch of drugs where you feel like every cell in your body is being turned inside out, like burning on fire. And they're doing it slowly to just kill you. It took about 24 hours for this whole process to be over. And then as soon as that avatar was dead, I got released. But until the entire day, more than a day, just my mind was, I've never been so angry, so mean. I tried not to be around people because I knew that something has happened. They're doing it to me spiritually. And then Jesus showed me that, yeah, they just killed you, took you out. You were not following their narrative, apparently. This one avatar went rogue. So later on, I asked Lord, like, okay, can we just do something to this lab? Release your fire, burn it all off, like send the angels to destroy it all. And he's like, no, we're just going to release water. We're going to flood that lab so all of their equipment will stop working and they can't mess with other people. I'm like, okay, that works for me, Lord. Let's just do that. Another one, another avatar here in US, they're using it they're repurposing it. That's how I call it. So, and it deals with technology, right? The avatars, the way they create them, it's the technology that they have on hand. Some of them are older ones, but they will still repurpose them for something, give them a new body. And with this one, I got the body of a military body. We were driving through the Midwest, like Montana area, no, Montana, Idaho. Just feels, I was dropped off in a military Jeep. Like I said, I was wearing a black modern military attire. And then I was dropped off into a metal big building with dirt floor. The building was totally empty. My job was to go in to find somebody else and kill them, like fight to death. But there was actually something more to that. So as I did find that person, we started fighting, and so we were in a choking each other. And she stopped and she dropped. And she goes, you have another spirit in you. And I immediately knew that she had the good spirit. She was also with the Holy Spirit. So our spirits that were with the Holy Spirit, they met up and said that this is wrong what they're doing to us. And we did not kill each other. And I told her, like, if I ever have to fight again, I want you to be in my corner. But what the military was doing there, they were testing these soldiers they weren't quite super soldiers, but they were testing them to see whether the soldiers could, these avatars could recognize what spirit is in them, what's driving that avatar. And clearly they found out that the Holy Spirit is stronger than the other spirits that can mess with us. That was the test. But
yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me. And I love this because it, as you say, one of your avatars has gone rogue. I love it because it seems to me like if you, I don't want to say the main host, I don't know what that I would call
same. I don't know either.
The queen cell. Are you the queen cell? I don't know.
Yes, I'm like,
but I would imagine that as you awaken to what's going on, and if there is anything that's still active, right, that would also take on your energy now, because as you are changing, and if then at least then the Russians are gonna have a whole lot of rogue liras running around.
Yeah, that's the idea. And I do want to encourage people that I think personally, it's our duty to do that. It's our duty to go back. We are tethered, right? Like I'm tethered to the, well, I'll skip that. It's our duty to go back and responsibility and take out that lab or take out their creations so they don't mess with it. Basically, when we free ourselves, that soul part, the other parts, soul parts that also worked with you on that mission, now they are affected by it because someone is not working with them anymore, right? Something went wrong. So they have this moment of clarity. And during this moment of clarity, I asked Lord to release ministering angels to those parts so they can start telling like, hey, there's something wrong in your life. This is just not how it's supposed to be. So you're actually helping the other souls also, the other avatars, by going rogue, if you will.
It's one candle lighting all the others. So it's like that again, that whole 100 monkey syndrome, the more that it starts happening and the more momentum it gains, so their own creations then start backfiring on them and flip themselves around.
Yes.
I love that. I love that idea. I really love that idea.
How long do I have? Do I have time for the Baltic Sea?
Yes, we have a few minutes left, and I wanted to go there because when you were talking water as well, I would imagine that would have maybe opened up the Baltic Sea, but that's just an assumption. But of course,
no, that one was more interesting than
that. Great. Okay. Yeah, please.
So, like I said, I was going back, talking about the rose petals. I wanted my essence back, all of my essence back. And just reminded me that they used your essence here. And what I saw was, I saw the Baltic cliffs. I've never been up there, by the way. I'm from the South, Black Sea, and this is like way up north. And I'm seeing the Lime Cliffs, which later on I Googled it, like there it was. And I saw a big structure. Some ways it's more like a submarine, but some base like came out of the water, the sea. I was let in and then it went back down under the water. And in there I saw Germans behind me, Russians at the panels where they're doing all the buttons. And then in the back it was the Germans who were observing and kind of giving commands on what to do. They're working together, right? And then I saw the part that they created in me was, this is an interesting avatar. It was kind of like jellyfish. And she changed colors. It was kind of a human form, but it was made specifically to be very efficient in the water. And into her, they put a bunch of metal arrows that were pointing up. All of them were pointing up, and they were all throughout my brain, my tissue, everywhere. Because when I asked God to just, hey, take all that away, all those arrows just were taken out, my essence. But those arrows were magnetic. And what they did was, apparently, you can Google this, under the water, there is a big structure that they don't know what it is. They sometimes will say it's a UFO, others like some ancient structure, big old blocks. You can see, like I said, pull up mysterious structure under Baltic Sea, and you'll see it on pictures. So what I saw was myself, this is jellyfish. She was going back and forth over this big old base, just hovering over it. And there was also some kind of a demonic creature in the water that was keeping guard over that place. And it looked a bit like an octopus or a hydra. Very, very demonic. It was watching me very closely, but it knew, it couldn't figure me out. Like, it's a jellyfish, but no, it's not. I think it's something dangerous. So anyhow, the job was, for my part, for this avatar to collect information that was happening in that base, underwater base. And those little magnetic metal arrows was what getting the information in and taking it out and putting it into my head. So then later on, they would bring me onto their base, and they would lay her down on the table. They would connect all these wires, cables onto her, and everything would be downloaded into the screen, back screen, all the information that frequencies that she has collected. And then they would unplug me there, plug in other cords, and put 2 dots right here on me. And then all of a sudden, my brain would translate all the information that this avatar has collected. And like on the back screen, you would see the words. They could actually read now the information that this avatar has collected, what was happening in the base. And I'm thinking, like, wow, interesting, Lord. I'm like, so what's up with the base? What are they doing there? What is it? So Jesus takes me down there. And when we walk in, on the right side, all the walls are very slick, very light, very smooth, very modern, very, very clean. And on the right side, just a metal wall with these drawers. And it actually looked like a morgue. And he showed me, one of the lab technicians, he pulls out these drawers. And it's the same body that's laying in these drawers, the same male, but he's different ages, like from his 30s to his 60s. So, hair, they'll make him look older, some parts, longer hair, shorter hair, but it's the same individual, about 9 of them that were laying down. I'm like, okay, there's the avatars, or the clones, wow. Right? And that's what you said. They create clones in this facility, in this base. The prominent people in the world are created here. And then he reminded me of,
my goodness. Sorry, that makes perfect sense, because I've been wondering about the clone connection, because there's a lot of question marks around cloning and what the Americans are able to do. But it makes, and I don't think the Americans are, because especially when we've been having conversations with Jesse will say the Americans are not cloning. They are not cloning because they first need to do this, that, the next thing, whatever. We have done shows on that. So, of course, one thinks, well, where are they coming from then? And it would make sense. We know there's body doubles. We know there's masks. We understand there's definitely that as well, for sure. But it's like what you're saying about these avatars. And then because Russia is so advanced technologically, and because they've been doing this for such a long time, and they're obviously on such a strong portal of the earth, right? It just feels like there's a very strong portal there. I've never been there, but it just feels like it. So then, therefore, they are able to do the cloning. And what you've just said, the important people of the world are cloned there. It makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Wow. It is. It's one of the facilities. There's more. This is one of the facilities, and Germans are with them. They're working together with Germans, which also makes sense. And that also, he reminded me of another mission, which I mentioned, I think last time, that one of my avatars was in a team of 6, or you can make them into teams of 2s, where they were going after the presidential clones, killing the presidents, and then they would bring another clone, and then the Russians would kill that president and another clone. They would kill them just to slow them down and tell them, like, no, it's Russia who are messing with you guys have control over things or can mess with things. But he
Yeah.
just reminded me of that, confirming like, yeah, the clones are real. And so
Wow.
Jesus let me look down lower into the base. It went down a bit, and it was the same thing that was happening with various clones. And then he showed me two giants, Nephilims, off to the side, like in the lower compartments of the base, just huge with reddish hair, beards. They were nasty. They were so angry.
Purpley skin. Do they have a purpley skin?
They did.
Like a
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did. They would just, when you look at them, their skin almost looks deadish compared to us, you know, because it's so awkward, pinkish, purplish, just different hue. And then the orange beards and the orange long hair, just a very weird mix. But they were sitting there bored at times because they've been there for centuries, just bored, like, let us out. And sometimes they were so bored that they would get into fights with each other. And when they got into fights with each other, this base collected energy from them. And so the entire base was ran off of their energy. And that goes with, in Matrix, they show where the main character, right? They're using his energy to run this base. So, and they were doing the same thing with them, just using their energy. That's how much energy they had to run this huge underwater base.
Insane. It makes such sense though, because that's what they would do. So they would anger them there. Whoever's keeping them there is keeping them there kind of deliberately. And yeah, so that they can create this chaos between them. And they know, of course, everything, though, the entire world is energy, right? So, I mean, everything is energy. So when we're creating that negative energy, they've learned how to harness that. So they do it through these nefarious activities. Oh my gosh, that's disgusting. Wow.
Right. But it was Satan who was keeping them. So the other thing that they were using them for was their semen, right? So they actually created these clones using the Nephilim semen, the giant semen.
What? Yes. Oh my gosh. Wow.
I can't make this stuff up, guys, okay? It's just,
I know this, but this is crazy. I've never heard someone speak like this, and I've always wondered about it, and it makes perfect sense. As you're saying this, it's like resonating that this is what these people are doing. They're literally keeping these otherworldly beings. And I mean, we've heard there's dragons, and we've heard about all sorts of dodgy things that operate, and that's true. A lot of people have spoken about that. So there's no doubt now. I haven't seen them myself, not in physical form anyway. In the spirit world, yes, I see them plenty, but not in physical form. But yeah, it makes so much sense what you're saying, Lira. And just that, wow, that this is how they create this ongoing trauma physically, because the Luciferianism is all about physical stuff, remember? So they're going to have to need things to do it. So of course they've got the giants then creating energetic drama, and then still taking their seed, their sperm, to create more of these Nephilim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to them it's just science on autopilot. And so afterwards, I mean, as I'm seeing this, Satan comes in, right? It's his creation, it's his army that he's doing, it's his world, the dolls on strings, if you will, these clones. So he comes in, he actually looked like, this time, he looked like a human, like well-dressed male businessman. And he had his entourage coming in, and they're walking up through the base, and he's just checking in on if everything is in order, and on time, because they have to release certain clones at certain times. Just making sure that everything is in order. And then he goes down to check on the giants. And at that time, that's when he turned into his true form, the dragon form. And so his size, when he turned into the dragon form, it was about the same size as those giants. And and they were in fear of him. Whatever he said, even if you looked at them the wrong way, they were just still like this. The giants were so big, where us humans, kind of like the size of their arm, came up to their knee. They were giants. And so was the dragon, just large, about the size of their bodies. And it was so, it's beyond scary, beyond fear to just even look at that scene. Satan and his fallen ones. It was horrific. Like I said, energy, yeah, there you've got enough energy to power everything just from those three beings being there, Satan and those two giants. It was horrific. And I was thankful what Jesus has showed me, because again, he was just confirming everything that other things that I've seen and heard. He just put it all together for me. Like, that was awesome. But then I said, like, okay, Lord, thank you. I've been used enough by them doing this reconnaissance. Just take out this avatar, please. And he takes his hand, Jesus, and he just smashes that jellyfish-like avatar of me. I'm like, wow. Okay, no more.
Wow.
But during that time, he also pointed, Jesus pointed with his eyes. So if you're standing on the map, if you're at the Baltic Sea looking down, Black Sea, Africa is down south, he looks to the left and he says, you know, that hole that the Russians have been digging for so many decades, you know, the deepest hole in the earth, drilling deep down into the earth. It was the Russians who did it. He said that was one of the things that Russians were trying to do, is to see what kind of sounds they could pick up even from this base way over here. They were trying to pick up the sounds from miles and miles away, because they were just so curious to see what was happening in them. So basically what I'm saying is, Russians and Germans were trying to see, to hear and understand what was going on. They were not necessarily part of it. They wanted to have their hand in those creations, but they didn't quite have the hand. They had knowledge, but they weren't part of it. It was some other beings. It was beyond them, beyond the Russians and the Germans, who had operated this base, who were putting out these clones, right? The predominant people in the world. It was not Russians and Germans.
Wow.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, wow, Lira, that's so fascinating. And on that note, and we will definitely have you back. We do have to bid you farewell today. But thank you again so much. What a fascinating conversation. And thank you so much for stepping forward and always using your voice in the way that you do. You really are a incredible source of information around this, and it's beautiful to hear. So thank you. But before we end off, is there anything you'd like to say to the viewers?
Keep going. You have the right and the duty to go back to those locations and take them out. At the very least, bring forth his angels and let God deal with it. But, you know, ask God to deal with that. That will help other people, and do whatever it takes to get through the day, to get past the perpetrator, to feel that freedom, because it is there.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, if you wanna reach out, and Lira, are you talking to people who've possibly been through some of this sort of stuff? Do you have a contact number you can give us, email address?
Sure, you can give out the one that I have, Fine Lines VA. Okay. Yeah, finelinesva@gmail.com. Actually, I have enough people here. Like I said, I live outside DC. It's not hard to see the survivors.
Yeah.
They keep me busy, and then plus still dealing with myself and my daughter, my son.
Okay.
But if I can answer some questions, I will.
Yeah, I think maybe what we'll do at some point is do a Q&A maybe, and on one of our future shows. So if you guys have any questions or what have you, I think there are lots of, like we're seeing now, so many people are starting to wake up, being activated or triggered, at this time, and thank God for people like Lira and the other whistleblowers, not only that appear on this show, but all over. I'm loving how more and more people, I'm seeing more and more shows revealing this stuff. Because when we started 2.5 years ago, there was just about zero out there regarding this. So very grateful for you, Lira. Thank you so much, guys. We'll have Lira back again in a couple of weeks. So take care of yourselves. God bless you all. Happy Friday. Like, share, subscribe, please, and have an awesome weekend. Take care of yourselves. See you soon. Cheers. Thank you, Lira.